Everyone, and welcome. My name is Ryan Emry, and this is my school counselor role advocacy video presentation recording for the course Counseling 540 Foundations of School Counseling with the Master of Arts in Counseling program at Adams State University. This course has been taught to me by my instructors Dr. Julie Salipo and instructor Elizabeth Lembo. In this video, I will be presenting a proposal for the advocacy of appropriate roles and responsibilities of school counselors. I will primarily be focusing on the high school level, as that's where my practicum experience has been, in addition to the majority of my exposure to the world of school counseling. And in order to provide an effective assessment of and an advocacy for the appropriate roles and responsibilities of school counselors, I will more precisely explore and examine one specific issue or inappropriate role that school counselors are asked to serve within the school setting. In addition to support this assessment and advocacy, I will also provide information on some research that I have conducted related to the issue, in addition to my own reflections, to help touch upon some of the other various components in which this presentation will address. And that is, what student supports are removed due to the school counselor serving the inappropriate role that I will identify. How does this role not support the framework of the ASCA National Model? And also, last but not least, possible solutions to remove the role from the school counselor. So one of the primary textbooks for our course has been the ASCA National Model, Framework for School Counseling Programs, 4th edition, published by the American School Counselor Association. Now, the framework states that no more than 20% of a school counselor's time should be spent in program planning and school support activities. It also states that a minimum of 80% of a school counselor's time should be spent conducting direct and indirect student services. Now, in addition to defining the types of direct and indirect services that a school counselor is to provide for their school and for their students, the ASCA National Model also lists out specifically defined sets of appropriate activities for school counselors and inappropriate activities for school counselors. I think having attained this knowledge early on in the semester somewhat laid out the foundation for me to have a rather eye-opening experience throughout my practicum experience, in addition to components like the school counselor observation paper. Both of these I conducted here at local area public high schools in the Boise, Idaho, or Treasure Valley area. During these experiences, much to my surprise, I found that school counselors here in the Valley have been working and handling a great majority of the inappropriate activities as listed in the ASCA National Model. Not only have they been handling these roles and responsibilities, but they have indicated that these are typically inherent to a school counselor position here for the state, and somewhat have alluded to them as just being expected parts of the job, or kind of the professional standard operating procedures for school counselors. And of these, one in particular that I've chosen to focus this presentation on is coordinating cognitive, aptitude, and achievement testing programs. While the definition seems a bit ambiguous, the testing programs that fall underneath this umbrella term are more commonly referred to as standardized testing, which anybody who has ever been through a school or knows anybody in school or has worked in a school, etc., is familiar with, right? And so these standardized tests are ability achievement tests. And the school counselors that I have worked with and had the chance to meet and learn from, they include these as part of their annual role and responsibilities. Now, some of these tests would include exams like the ACT, the SAT, and here in Idaho, we have one called the ISAT, or the Idaho Standards Achievement Test. Now, the specific duties that are related with school counselors handling these testing programs, encompass the entire gamut, all the way from planning the test and even hiring support staff to help proctor the test, to administering the test, getting the classrooms and the times and all of that coordinated, scheduled, administering the test, collecting the test, and submitting them after it's all said and done. And so this process has shown that it takes up a lot of the time. A lot of the time that school counselors could be working on more of these direct or indirect services. And so this is an issue that I felt is worth exploring a little bit deeper. While the inappropriate tasks of school counselors coordinating cognitive aptitude and achievement testing programs such as the ACT, SAT, or the ISAT here in Idaho might not appear to be that major of an issue upon first glance or at surface level, a little bit of digging revealed a ton of research that has gone forth to make attempts to indicate just how severe the issue might be. In an article titled Factors That Affect Implementation of a Comprehensive School Counseling Program in Secondary Schools, the authors state that role conflict in school counseling is often due to inappropriate job duties, and they listed testing administrative tasks as one of those. Non-counseling duties assigned by administration create a lack of clarity about the professional role of secondary school counselors and diminish the importance of the overall school counseling role. They found that 50 to 74% of school counselors surveyed spend anywhere from 5 to 10 or more hours per week on inappropriate job duties. They also found a correlation between time spent on inappropriate counseling duties and lower levels of job satisfaction. And by contrast, they found a correlation with time spent on appropriate counseling duties and increases in job satisfaction. Based on these inappropriate duties, they found generally that school counselors felt discouraged, but they also felt that they had to perform these inappropriate job duties in order to secure their positions and keep their jobs. One of the side variables showed that participants or school counselors were less likely to show empathy towards students when they were being held responsible for inappropriate job duties, and that inappropriate duties was the variable that best predicted general job dissatisfaction in school counselors. In another article titled Professional School Counselors Advocacy, Mandated Testing and Other Inappropriate Roles and How to Advocate for Change, the author states that the professional school counselor's role as the administrator, coordinator, and facilitator of state-mandated testing has become a particularly troublesome trend. A survey conducted in the state of Georgia revealed that 44% of school counselors drop out by the 5th year. And the most revealing component was that they stated the main reason for leaving the profession was the number of state-mandated tests. Also, in concurrent studies done by the North Carolina Public Instruction Department and presented in an article titled From the Frontline, What is Really Going On with Testing Coordination? When they asked the school counselors, participants through a survey how much time is going into coordinating testing, the responses were from anywhere from 40 to 60% a week. And during the times of testing or the weeks of testing, 80 to 100% of their time was being dedicated to coordinating the testing. They found it was about an average of 10 to 20 hours per week throughout the entire year, that is, which was about a third to a half of all of the counseling time. And they equated it to be about 2.5 months out of the year dedicated to testing coordination. From my own experiences at where I did my school observation paper, I can say that the counselor who I observed is responsible for handling the SAT testing. And one of their major concerns was at that time when they were required to be at the rooms where the testing is being conducted, they're not available for students that might come in looking for them, might have an emergency and might need someone to talk to. So in that event, they would have to, see one of the other counselors, and they might not have a relationship built. As well, I heard that at that same high school that the career and college counselor had communicated with the administration or the school district that they were going to begin to look for other opportunities if the district could not come up with a solution for how to handle the ISAT testing, which is the Idaho standardized test that I spoke of earlier. So, with all of this research and even my own personal experiences reflecting that this is such a major issue, the question now becomes, what might the solution be? So, not only does the inappropriate activity of coordinating cognitive aptitude and achievement testing programs have an impact on school counselors, a seemingly negative one, but it has an impact on the students and the overall school as a whole as well. All of this time, which has now been indicated by research, which is being dedicated to testing coordination, it's being taken away from all of the appropriate activities, the direct and indirect services, and components for building a school counselor program, which is defined in the ASCA National Model and framework. And not only are those guidances on how to be a professional school counselor, but how to be a systematic agent of change, how to take on a leadership role in the school community, someone that's helping to transform the entire environment and help the school to achieve its mission and its vision and support its values across all developmental domains, academic, career, and social emotional. I think one of the trickiest dimensions that I have noticed throughout my practicum experience and exposure to the world of school counseling is how tricky it is to navigate all of the dynamics and, as cliche as it might sound, the politics of a typical school environment and setting. Some of the parts and pieces that are included, not just the students and the counselors, but the school's administration, the other staff members, the district officials, the board members, and the taxpayers as well. So one solution that occurs to me for taking on this major task of testing coordination would be to make it more of a collaborative effort. I think making use of the idea that many hands make light work. And I believe that this could mean, utilizing someone from more of an administrative position like a principal or an assistant principal who school counselor could work together to provide the information on all of the roles, responsibilities, and tasks, and could get help from that individual on divvying those out to other staff members. A concern, of course, would be that it might cause friction or turmoil or ruffle the feathers of other staff members having to do more, right? Which, of course, that's the position that school counselors being put in, but communicating that with other, members in the school might be difficult. So in going through the research, it became apparent to me that the fact is that a testing coordinator does not need to possess a master's degree. And in many cases, not even a bachelor's degree. So I think taking that information and positioning this fact with school administration, district officials, even board members, that utilization of an employee that has the level of education of a master's degree, it's not a proper utilization of their time. It's somewhat of an unnecessary cost and a misutilization of their time and salary. Not to mention all of the things that all of the ways in which it doesn't align with a school counselor's role. But I think positioning it from more of that financial, if it's not effective, it's not efficient. It's not an efficient use of our resources. I think that's probably the best route to go to navigate those waters properly and to hopefully start working towards a solution. And as well as in one of those studies, there was a list of possible funding sources for testing coordination, which I was like, wow, that's really amazing things that I haven't heard of before or been exposed to, but things that are definitely worth I think looking into further. So some of these suggestions were waivers for unavailable categories, Title I, deeming it an at-risk student service, improving student accountability standards, accountability grants for low-performing schools, rural education achievement programs, transferability among specified federal PRCs, or just trying to generate money locally within the community. And a testing coordinator not needing to have a higher or not needing to be required of having a higher level of education means that the position itself wouldn't be financially straining, and that it would be something that with a little bit of creativity and collaboration that funds could be generated, funds could be reallocated or found in order to hire a position or a person to hold this position full time, and to alleviate all of the ways that it affects the school counselor role, and as well as the students and the school as a whole. Thank you for your time.